In episode 99 of Bullet Heaven, we took a look at Gunhound EX, a side-scrolling run-and-gunner from Dracue software. Gunhound EX has some serious chops, taking inspiration from games such as Assault Suit Leynos and Assault Suits Vulcan. It's pretty fitting then that Dracue software would be the ones to take the side-scrolling mecha run-and-gun full circle. Released to the PlayStation 4 first in Japan by Dracue, and subsequently to North America and Europe by Rising Star Games, Assault Suit Leynos is a full HD remake of the 16-bit Sega Mega Drive classic, also released to the North American Sega Genesis as Target Earth. As a 2D game on the PS4, it looks pretty slick, but how does it handle? Let's take a closer look. For mecha run-and-gun fans who have already checked out games like Gunhound EX, Gigantic Army, and Steel Strider, all of which have been reviewed on Bullet Heaven before, the gameplay in Assault Suit Leynos should be second nature. The whole game takes place in a strictly side-scrolling fashion, with players walking and rocketing their mechs about a 2D plane. The D-pad or left stick handles movement, while the cross button is assigned to jump by default. A booster enabled by the square button allows players to dash, which can also be paired with jumping to better attack enemies at different geographic heights or altitudes. Pressing up or down on the D-pad will raise or lower the Assault Suit's gun, allowing for aiming at targets that are above or below the player's position. Meanwhile, holding the L1 button will lock the player's gun in the direction that it's pointing, which allows for greater freedom of movement, especially in zero-gravity stages. Pressing the circle button will fire the selected weapon. One neat aspect of Assault Suit Leynos is that players have access to a growing number of weapons as the game progresses. Getting a higher rank in each stage, up to S, will unlock these new implements of destruction, which are loaded onto or changed up on the player's assault suit before each of its 8 main stages. Additional armor stocks can also be added at the cost of a weapon slot. While in combat, pulling the R2 or L2 triggers will allow players to cycle through their selected weapon. However, care should be taken. Certain weapons have limited use, while others have unlimited ammo but require a significant cooldown period before it can be used again when its ammunition is spent. The triangle button allows players to use heavy-hitting melee attacks that can seriously damage anything it touches. Of course, it's always a risky move, since you'll have to really get up close and personal with the target in question, and that means going face-to-face with point-blank shots that can turn you into a smoking crater. Still, its power is undeniable, and it can make short work of larger multi-part ships. Finally, if a shield is equipped to the assault suit, pressing and holding the R1 button will engage a defensive posture, with the equipped shield blocking enemy shots. However, the assault suit is vulnerable from the rear and can't shoot or move while the shield is engaged. If the player gets hit, a varying amount of damage is dealt to the assault suit's armor. When the armor reaches 0, it's game over, but if the player can keep from getting hit for a short period of time, these shields can recharge. Once again, additional armor stocks can be outfitted at the cost of weapon slots. On the whole, the control is fairly simple, and the challenge for the game is adequate for a normal setting. It's pretty fun to play. A harder mode is available for players that want more challenge, and a lower difficulty is present for players that need a helping hand. Any way you slice it though, the amount of destruction that Assault Suit Leynos allows players to dish out is pretty satisfying. A classic mode is also included, which follows the Mega Drive version much more closely than the reimagined main mode. It's wicked hard though, so get ready for a stiff challenge. However, there are some problems with the game. The zero-gravity stages felt way too unresponsive in terms of movement, which is as you'd expect from a zero-gravity situation, but makes for frustrating gameplay. There are also some weird technical issues as well. Losing to a boss, and subsequently getting a shitty rank, is one thing, but it's a real piss-off when it's due to your assault suit disappearing from the screen. There were also times where the player craft would gradually rise for no reason, or suddenly appear above a tunnel after entering it to progress. There are also spots on the screen that you can't defend yourself, even if the shots fired are hitting your shield directly. Other graphical issues like upside-down squished portraits sometimes happen as well. It's a shame these issues have snuck into the game's final form, but they're also issues that can be fixed with patches. Here's hoping they will be.
敵の突撃艦が D ラインを突破しました。基地まであと56マイル。
Much like in Dracue's Gunhound EX, the scoring at play in Assault Suit Leynos is pretty straightforward. Each destroyed enemy has a specific score attached. There are no chains or complicated bonuses to worry about in the stages themselves, allowing players to focus on getting the job done. At the end of each stage, a more sizable bonus for defeating the boss is added to the score when the boss is defeated. There are also a number of special conditions that can be triggered throughout the stage, which result in bonuses that can add up very quickly. Scoring high is used for more than a badge of honor for skilled or dedicated players. Accumulated pointage is applied to unlockable extra features and option rank. These features range from aesthetics like adding glasses to the commander to enhancing the score collected from various enemy types. Multiple replays are definitely needed to get the points required for these features to unlock, which greatly enhances the replay of the game, a critical factor thanks to the lack of an online ranking system. But what if you die? No worries, the score is carried over throughout the game even if a player continues, though it will be set back to what the player had at the checkpoint before game over. As such, a 1cc isn't critical to keeping the score as players make their way through Leynos' comparatively lengthy campaign. As a remake of a Mega Drive game, Assault Suit Leynos is everything you'd expect from a game presented on the PlayStation 4. Sharp 2D visuals take the forefront on screen, combined with a slightly chunky, retro-themed UI that keeps things simple but effective. Overall, it's not exactly like the classic pixel sprites and backgrounds found on the Mega Drive. Most elements are animated with rotation-based movement, like a multi-segmented painting. The mission text definitely clashes with this though. A smoother high-res font could have been used with much greater effect outside of the classic mode. The backgrounds are just a bit on the iffy side as well, despite ultimately looking pretty cool. A lot of heavy blur is employed on the background and even foreground parallax layers, making it look like the game takes place with a very shallow depth of field. Sharper, more detailed elements would have gone much further. It still works really well regardless. On the sound front, a decent OST underscores the whole experience, but none of the tracks really stand out, whether it's from the arranged soundtrack or the Mega Drive-style classic version. The sound effects, on the other hand, are everything you want in a mecha-based game, with all of the cool-sounding stomps, boosters, clangs, crashes, and alerts that make a game like this just right. The story is also pretty great, but runs an extremely close parallel to another great series. You know, a little thing called Macross. Minus the singing, of course. We can't really go into specifics without huge spoilers for both Leynos and Macross's movie, but if you're a big fan of Macross, once you play Leynos, you'll definitely see what we mean. But strangely, I'm okay with this. It's not too often you get a competent shooter with a decent, coherent, and completely followable story. Half props for that at least. Rounding out the presentation, the general menu design works on a pretty basic level, and unlockable galleries that even include the Japanese Mega Drive instruction manual are present. PlayStation Network trophies are also plentiful and often challenging, so there's lots to unlock through multiple play sessions. So, how does Assault Suit Leynos stack up? Let's take a look.
よくここまでたどり着いたな。しかもあの乱世を倒すとは。
お前が司令官か。降伏しろ。この戦い。
If we're talking control, on the ground Leynos shines, but the zero-gravity segments are a bit on the frustrating side. A few bugs can make for a bit of random hell too. Leynos' challenge on normal difficulty strikes a great balance of being challenging but not overly difficult. Easy is great for novices, hard is better for veterans. Unlocking numerous additional options and galleries with accumulated score in multiple playthroughs, not to mention great trophies, will keep players coming back for more. On the whole, Leynos' visuals are slick and clear to see. The blurry backdrops and foreground elements could have been sharper and more detailed though. Leynos' OST fundamentally works, but there's not much in the line of catchy standouts, but the sound effects and VO are perfect. Assault Suit Leynos predates Assault Suit's Vulcan on the Super Famicom, so in many ways the original is what paved the way for this kind of run-and-gunner, and having the Dracue touch in the form of cumulative score unlocks a la Gunhound EX is brilliant. Assault Suit Leynos is a very recent release that's available digitally or at retail for about $20 US. Not many seem to be floating around on store shelves, but it's still a very inexpensive way any way you slice it. As such, it holds tremendous value and is well worth its asking price. Assault Suit Leynos is a great reimagining of a classic game that influenced many more of its kind throughout the decades that came since. A couple of bugs here and there drop the score a bit from its average above, but if you like your robots giant and your action fast, Assault Suit Leynos is your next purchase. Assault Suit Leynos gets a 4 out of 5. You can get a copy of Assault Suit Leynos on PSN, Steam, or via sites like PlayAsia, as well as at retail. This was a pretty fun episode to put together. In the last 7 years, Bullet Heaven's format has changed about 12 times in total. Crazy! If you're new to the series, be sure to check out these other episodes from earlier on. The old stuff's a little rusty, but it's where this episode came from. Well then, it's time to see what our random selection engine has cooked up for all of you to vote on to be featured in November's Viewer's Choice. Automatius Gorgeous survives the vote as runner-up and is now joined by Aeroblasters for the TurboGrafx 16 and R-Type Delta for the PlayStation. As always, cast your vote in the card above. While you're at it, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode of Bullet Heaven.